Obamagate. It's been going on for a long time. It's been going on from before I even got elected. And it's a disgrace that it happened. And if you look at what's gone on, and if you look at now all of this information that's being released, and from what I understand, that's only the beginning. Some terrible things happened, and it should never be allowed to happen in our country again.
What is the crime exactly that you're accusing him of?
You know what the crime is. The crime is very obvious to everybody.
Well, let's bring in GOP Congressman Jim Jordan, member of the House Judiciary Committee, to answer that question. Congressman, always great to see you. What is the crime that you think that they're pursuing?
They tried to trap, and they did trap Michael Flynn. They tried to set up and trap the president. Brian, think about 3 weeks in January of 2017. January 3rd, Chuck Schumer announces, if you mess with the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday to get back at you. January 4th, the very next day, Peter Strzok tells the 2 agents who want to drop any pursuit of Michael Flynn, he says, no, don't drop it. Comey and McCabe want to continue to go after Michael Flynn. The next day, January 5th, they have the now famous meeting in the White House where President Obama is in with Brennan, Clapper, Comey. After the meeting's over, he pulls Comey aside, starts talking to him about Michael Flynn. The next day, Brian, January 6th, those same people, Brennan, Clapper, Comey, go to Trump Tower to talk to President-elect Trump, brief him. Comey sticks around afterwards to tell President Trump about the dossier that Jim Comey already knows is false. He knows is Russian disinformation. He knows it's paid for by the Clinton campaign, but he tells the president about it to try to set up the president. And then 12 days later, Jim Comey sends 2 guys into the White House, sneaks them in, doesn't follow protocol to set up Michael Flynn. And the common denominator through all of that, the common guy, is Jim Comey. And I hope John Durham in his investigation is looking hard at holding Jim Comey accountable for all that this stuff that played out over the last 3.5 years. Right. That's what the president's referring to.
Congressman, it was in, I believe, January or February of 2017, shortly after the president Trump took office, that it was revealed on the front pages of the New York Times that apparently in an effort to spread this information about Russia across the federal government, in the final days of the Obama administration, they just opened the floodgates and they put everything they had about Flynn and Russia out there. They said so that they would leave tracks, essentially, for the investigators. And that's what they did, and that's what got us to this point. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, on Friday, Barack Obama does this conference call with 3,000 people from his administration who worked in the government then. And he's talking about what Michael Flynn did and how it's an injustice what Mr. Barr did. Why has Barack Obama suddenly reappeared talking about this particular case less than 24 hours after they dropped the charges?
Yeah, it's obvious because we now know about what took place on that January 5th meeting in the last days of the Obama administration as they're trying to get ready to set up President Trump on January 6, 2017, and then they go trap and set up Michael Flynn, as I said, 12 days later. And you're right, Steve. What they also did in that interim between January 6th and January 24th, 2017, is they started leaking information to friendly press people to further this narrative, to help them with their story. And now they're trying to, and don't forget, when I mentioned Jim Comey, don't forget, in May of 2017, when Comey gets fired, what's the first thing Jim Comey does? He leaks his memos to get special counsel Bob Mueller appointed so they can continue their cover-up. The insurance policy started off. This is real important, I think. The insurance policy started off as the investigation itself into President Trump. That's what they were going to do, go get President Trump in the election in 2016 when they started this investigation. But that transformed into protecting the people who did the investigation, making sure the American people didn't find out the truth. Well, the good news is we got Bill Barr as Attorney General, and we are now finding out the truth because of the good work he's doing at the Justice Department.
It sounds like such an insane amount of abuse of power. President Obama's weighing in on this, telling the president that the rule of law is at risk, or telling his people, I'm sorry, in that leaked phone call that the rule of law is at risk. And then Mitch McConnell said Obama should keep his mouth shut. It's classless. You had your shot. You were there for 8 years. What do you make of the timing of all this? Now, our sources are telling us that the Durham investigation is going full throttle. Yeah. They're looking at everything. Why release these 53 transcripts over the last week? What's the time? Is this because we're revving up to get this report from Durham?
Let's hope so.
Why the transcripts?
Let's hope so. I think the comment from the former president is because we're now getting the truth. We now have these notes we got from Bill Priestap last week. We now have these transcripts that show every single one of these individuals interviewed behind closed doors under oath said there was nothing there, and yet we had 3.5 years that they put the country through. $40 million Bob Mueller spent, 19 agents, 19 lawyers, 40 FBI agents, all he put the country through. But we know this, and I am so impressed with the work of the Attorney General. Remember, he was just sworn in a little over a year ago, and he said that very first time he testified, he had it right. He said there was a failure of leadership at the upper echelon of the FBI. And how true that was. Comey was fired, McCabe was fired, Baker was fired, Strzok let go, and then fired. Lisa Page left the FBI. Those were the top people who ran the two biggest investigations of our lifetime, the Clinton investigation and then the Trump-Russia investigation, and they were wrong on both of those. So it's time to hold people accountable. And as I said before, Jim Comey he's the common denominator through all this. I hope John Durham is looking at him real closely.
Well, let's move on and talk a little bit about Ohio and also something you're going to be doing. Ohio's moving ahead, not as quick as some people would want, and they're going to be opening up salons, barbershops, spas, restaurants and bars allowed to open for outside dining. And then a little bit later, they'll have another phase a little bit later in the week. But let's talk about what you're going to be doing, Jim. You are named to the House Committee on the Coronavirus Investigation. For a while, Republicans thought, I don't know if I should be on this. Why are you getting on this?
Well, because Leader McCarthy is selected 5 of us ago, put Steve Scalise as our top Republican, and I think that's a great move by the leader. Kevin also said what this is really about. He called this impeachment 2.0, and that is so true. We got 8 different entities, Brian, already providing oversight of how the CARES Act, those dollars are being allocated to small businesses and families around the country. We already have 8 different special. We got the special inspector generals. We got a special commission created in the legislation itself. But the Democrats want a 9th. Why? Because the first 8 are providing oversight for the taxpayers of this country, but the 9th is political. The 9th is going to run interference for Joe Biden. And you know that because who did they name as the chair? Jim Clyburn, Joe Biden's #1 supporter in the United States Congress. And who they put on this committee? Maxine Waters, Jamie Raskin, 2 partisans who've said all kinds of terrible things about the president. So this is designed to go after the president. We're going to have to present the truth, get to the facts, and underscore the unfair process that the whole thing was created. It's supposed to be bipartisan. It's not. It's 7-5 in favor of Democrats. And they've already went after certain businesses with the letter they sent yesterday. Whip Scalise responded to that letter with something that we sent out, I think, last night as well. So this is partisan, but we're going to have to focus on the truth. And the American people, I think, will see it for what it is.
Never stop.
Let's hope so. All right, Jim Jordan, thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Good luck.
Thank you.